Bienvenidos al podcast Estrategia y Diseño. En este espacio hablamos de temas relacionados con estrategias de negocio, diseño, tendencias de futuro, cómo aumentar tus ventas en tu empresa, cómo liderar a tu equipo. Somos Antonio Fernández Olombrá, diseñador industrial, profesor universitario y CEO en el estudio Blast Design desde Madrid, España.
Y Carla Enriqueta López, directora académica en el TEC de Monterrey, coach ejecutiva, y les hablo desde México. Y en esta ocasión, déjame les cuento que es un formato diferente. Esta vez el podcast es en inglés. Esto es porque entrevistamos a una persona que admiro muchísimo, que es ByJames. Katie es estadounidense, sin embargo, ya tiene algunos años, bastantes, radicando en México y ha creado una línea increíble, una línea de sandalias, una línea de home que es preciosa y que la ha hecho una marca global. Es interesantísimo cómo es que llega a México y a partir de ahí crea esta línea que es para todo el mundo. No se lo pierdan, les va a encantar, es una gran creativa, es una gran mujer, tiene mucho que contarnos.
Hello, everybody. We are so glad to be here again in another podcast. This is different. This is in English. And I recommend you to listen to it. I mean, I'm very, very glad to have here to ByJames. I've been following her for a lot of time on Instagram, and she's very inspiring. And I wanted her to come to tell us the story. I mean, what she does. I mean, she's a designer. She does sandals. They're so beautiful. And she started a company about that. And she also does a little bit about home, products about home. And it's very inspiring what she's doing here in Mexico. So I really wanted to hear her and to tell us the story. So welcome, Katie. Thanks for coming and thanks for answering and to say, yes, I will go to the podcast. Very welcome to come.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be talking with you today. And thank you for inviting me. It's my first time to do a podcast, but I'm so excited. I have a brand called ByJames, which was born in Mexico, actually, after living here for 2 years and understanding kind of living in the town of Tulum, where there was a need for a lot of different categories of products and industries in general. I understood at the time that there was a strong need for a well-designed, high-quality leather sandal now that we're living on the beach. So at the time, it was like the only thing available was Javianas. So I sort of realized, okay, this is a great market to tap into. And I didn't study design, many different categories. So yeah, so I make shoes actually for myself. I took them about designs, and what they came back with and produced for me was amazing quality of product. And I was like, wow, okay, this can be a real business. And so with the support of a few friends that I had here at the time, they were putting my shoes on the shelves in their boutiques and their hotels. And from there, this was about 7-8 years ago. And
wow.
There was a big fashion industry crowd that went on a more global scale. And so brands and stores and hotels around the world started picking us up and carrying us. And we kind of became the shoe brand, I think, of Tulum at the time, and kind of grew from there. I didn't have all these plans to really be doing business on the level that we are now. But I'm very proud of the work. I love the people that we work with are incredible. It's, properly artisanal, craftsmanship. The quality of work that they produce is incredible. And I see us as like the liaison between modern society and properly handmade. So that's been incredible. And then from there, now we're sort of evolving into more of a lifestyle brand, just because I've had opportunities here to do different design projects, really starting with my home now that I live in. A friend of mine, she owns a bunch of hotels and properties around the area. And she had this construction site, and I was potentially looking to move back into the neighborhood where I am, and didn't like anything that was available at all. Like, I just wasn't ever like happy with the decor of the homes and like the design, the layout of the spaces. And so I said, hey, let me know when you finish building this house, and then I'll consider maybe renting it from you. She said, I don't have time to do that, but I love your aesthetic. Would you want to design the house for me? And I was like, sure, yeah. And really just design a lifestyle brand, really, because then other people started seeing the house. And really, truly, like, architects have come and knocked on my door to have a tour of everything. And from there, I've had different hotels and people in the area ask me to help design homes for them. And additionally, to go back a little bit, when I finished the house, I went and found steel factories and the house. So it was kind of like a blank slate, selling it here and there. I don't really promote it a whole lot or push it a whole lot because it's a different line of work and business. But when people come to me that are interested in the products, I'll definitely sell the furniture. And now I'm working on different home design projects. I'm working one right now in Tulum, and then also another one down in Tulum, but in Siankan. It's been a super fun process. My kids have been very involved with all of these projects that I've done. But so now we're selling shoes and furniture and all kinds of different things. But I think it really did do what?
Yeah, I must say that you have a great style. I mean, I just saw your pictures, and I can know why the architects come to your house and say, I wanna see your house, because it's amazing the style that you have, and the style in the house, and of course, I mean, furniture, house, and what you're designing is amazing.
Thank you so much. I never studied architecture or design. My dad was an architect, so growing up, he would take us on his projects all the time. So we would go sit in his design studios and watch all of his projects with him. Now it's kind of it's a lot of fun. I love anything to do with like beautiful aesthetics. But also I think a lot of what I'm doing now, like you said in the beginning, that it's interesting that I came to Mexico and was able to establish, these types of things.
Yes.
I see it the opposite. I see so many roadblocks of doing business in the US. It's also every category of business is so tapped, so it's harder to stand out, I guess, in a bigger place where so many industries are thriving versus coming here to a brand new town that's basically, I think Tulum is like maybe 25 or 30 years old. It's very young. So we're still developing the town. We're still developing these areas, and there's a need for a lot of different things. And basically everything I was looking at for my life, whether it was shoes or furniture or home, didn't exist on the level that I really self. And then that kind of turned into a business. But yeah, that's kind of how it all happened.
Wow.
Anything
so quickly. I mean, it's not quickly. It's been 8 years, but it seems like so quickly.
Yeah.
And
it's been a very natural evolution of do what?
Yeah, tell me something. I mean, it's amazing how you start and how you've been developing. But in any time of this process, did you ask yourself, like, is anyone going to pay for my ideas? Is this going to work? Is this? I mean, because I have heard a lot of people that don't do it because they have these doubts, and they never do it. And they are like, I want to do it, and they never start to do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that comes out.
Yeah.
And what happened in this process with you?
I think the fear of failure, an idea or a dream or a passion, it was kind of like when I started. Yeah, of course, I did have the fear of failure. Also, you don't want to launch a brand and a business and then people don't like it or they're not interested in buying it. So of course you have that. In my case, I was going through kind of a personal life transformation, a major shift. And I was kind of like, it was sink or swim mode. And I couldn't fail because I have 2 children to support and take care of. And I just felt super confident that there was a need for the product that I was putting out here. It didn't exist at the time. And I also didn't launch a huge business. And from the profits of those 6 pairs of shoes, then I bought 12 and 24 and 48. And like, my business just kind of grew. I hate to use the word organically, but it's true. It did. And it kind of worked itself out without that huge idea of doing this big business. I never thought about that really. And that wasn't my original intention. So I think that's why it didn't, I guess, hold me back from pursuing it. I was like, oh, if I can get 6 people to buy these shoes, then 12 people are going to buy them, and 24. And the more we expose it, I don't know. It's just, I think it will work. And I also had a very strong vision of what I wanted to do and what I wanted this brand to look like and represent. And I was pretty confident with that. But 100%, I did have those doubts and those fears. And I also had people around me saying, there's no way you can make this work. You don't, you're easy, all the time. And I was like, well, it's probably not easy, but it's also not impossible. I mean,
Yeah.
let me just try. Let me try and see what happens. And then it worked. And it's continuing to work, but we do have setbacks. I've had tons of setbacks in my business. But I think the challenges really just kind of help you grow and learn, and just you keep fine tuning that engine, and learning is.
And I love what you say, that I'm gonna try it. I mean, maybe
What were
it
you gonna
works,
say?
maybe it don't. Yeah, that you say what you say about I'm gonna try it. Maybe it works, maybe it don't, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do it. And I love just what you said about you have this idea of how you want it to look like. I mean, because I have been following you, and you inspire me a lot, and I'm sure that you inspire a lot of women on what you do. And I also loved when I saw you styling your own house. I mean, you were doing this photograph of your posts on your house, and with this care with the photography and how you look like. I mean, you have an idea of what you wanted to communicate, right? What you wanted to show. And I think that's important also when you are doing when you're doing business on this design line. What you need to have clarity on what you want to communicate, right, Katie?
Yeah. And you have to have consistency too. I think building a brand is part of being a brand. You want people to recognize you when they see your work or your product. When you look at all categories of my life, it all flows very seamlessly together. The way I cook, the way I dress, my home styling, my shoes, my imagery through social media. I think it all is just flows through the same sort of wavelength or synergy. So, and I think that that's important. When someone picks up a product of mine, they know it's a ByJames product. They can feel it. It's a feeling and an emotion. I think that I've really tried to infuse into my brand, into ByJames, and it's really a story, actually. I mean, there's different parts of my brand that tie into like family history and family members and things like that. So it's kind of just sharing a message about life and learning to survive in a foreign country with 2 kids as a single woman and mom. Yeah. And I hope that message gets across to people, like it's not over and really anything is possible.
and this, I think it's very important. I have 2 kids, and I'm single too. So, what about managing all of this? how about managing all of this, Katie? How do you do that? I mean, your kids, your business, your life, your own life, the house. I mean, how do you do to manage all of this? I think sometimes we saw it like it's impossible, or it's I don't have time for me. I won't have time to do that because I have to do all of this. How do you manage that?
Well, I think number one, I do work from home and I have flexibility in my schedule. But I really build my kids into my life. I think that's a very important thing to consider if you're a single mom and you have kids and you have to raise them. My kids are a part of every project I do. My son's an amazing artist. So now he's working with me on ByJames and he's designing and drawing shoes for me. So the shoes that you see now were originally drawn by my son and sent off to our factory to produce. So it's things like that I just try to bring them into it and give them something to be proud of, and like, hopefully when they're a bit older, if they choose or they want to, they can work with me, or they'll at least understand business from the level that, that I do business. And they're in school. So I work in the hours that they're at school. For me, that seems to be pretty manageable. I know not everyone is in the same position where they can work from home. So I can't speak to, women that go to the office every day. I know that has to be super challenging. I do feel lucky to have been able to create the dynamic that I have, but I really compartmentalize each category of my life. I mean, really just managing a home in Mexico is a full-time job. I'm sure my water was broken. I had a guy here today helping me fix it. Things break all the time. So that's a lot of work. That's one full-time job in and of itself. But I really just try to compartmentalize my mind and say, okay, I've got to focus on ByJames for, 3 whole days of the week. And then I'll work on another design project, which is like, home designing. I'm working on a house right now. So then I'll give that my time and attention, versus mixing it all together. I try to focus on each individual category. And then when my kids walk home, I stop what I'm doing and I'm there with them and I'm taking them to after school activities and cooking. And I kind of break it up like that. And it has worked so far. And my kids are getting older. So, they're a bit more self-sufficient now. Mm-hmm. But, there's been tons of challenges and tons of moments that have been hard to manage it all. But yeah, I think overall, it's just creating a whole lifestyle out of my work,
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I've seen how you integrate your kids with the designs, and I was like, wow. I mean, I've never seen that. So it was amazed. I was amazed with that. I mean, I saw your kid, your histories, your stories on Instagram. He was designing. I mean, he's great drawing. Yeah. It's amazing how he does. And I have never seen this. Someone bringing their kids to their design life. I mean, getting into, and that's so interesting. I mean, and so inspiring too, because sometimes we think they can't do it. They are too little. Yeah. They are not into. They won't understand. Yeah, of course.
Well, I think that's a really important for any woman out there that is in a position like you or I. I think it's so important if you can and you have the opportunity to infuse your kids into whatever work that you're doing in the world, because it teaches them also. It teaches them things that school's not going to teach them. But my dad did the same thing. I was always around his work and the things that he did. So I think for me, it was kind of natural to be that way too with them. Right. I also kept my kids off of technology and iPads their whole childhood up until COVID, when they had to get iPads. I never had an app on. I never gave them an iPad to just like babysit them for however long. I was very adamant about that. And I think because I did not allow them to be raised on technology and iPads, and when my kids get bored, I'm like, well, then either boredom stimulates creativity in children. I learned to draw, and he did. And now he's an amazing artist. And I'm like, great, now you get to work with me and I'll pay you for your drawings. And you get to see the vision from your mind come out onto paper. And then we can create that and bring it to life. You can see the entire process of your art and your creativity come to life. And then you can sell it if you want, and make your own money and have your own business at age 12.
That's amazing. I mean, that's utterly amazing. And I think it's about also, as you said, how you were raised. I mean, you were raised in that way, and that was very natural for you. And I mean, that's very important, and how as adults we were, as kids we are parents, and we try to do, but we also can change everything. We can turn the tortilla to another way. We can do it in another way that we are interested. And that's why I wanted to hear you, because it's very inspiring. We can try to do the things in ways we have never done before, like this, like to integrate them in areas in our own business and our creativity areas that they will develop. I'm sure I'm just like you. I think they have this free creativity to do whatever they want to do, to feel creativity that is not influenced by another things, and they can do it. But and actually, I haven't integrated them that much as you are doing, and just hearing you is so inspiring. I will try to do it because sometimes you maybe think like, I know they don't have the talent, or no, they don't understand it, but it's give them the tools so they can make it up as you're doing it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I firmly believe in that. I'm like, just the first 5 years, you get to kind of see what your kids naturally gravitate towards, right? And then whatever they gravitate towards, whatever talent that they have, you just kind of feed that. You just feed those passions that you can see so clearly, usually. And at the beginning, it was like, okay, try everything and let's see what you're good at and let's see what you like. what you gravitate towards naturally, and then we'll hone in on that specific thing. And with my son, it's been art. Fortunately for me, that works out great because I'm like, perfect. I need someone to draw my shoes for me. So here you go. This is the job. Yeah, but it's fun. It's a really fun process. I don't see my kids as like anything that holds me back. In fact, they inspire me and they motivate me to like do all the work that I'm doing, you know?
I love it. And I love it. And I will love a lot of parents to hear this because right now you people can imagine, I mean, I'm working in a university and every week I talk to parents that are not allowing their child to study what they want. It's amazing. We're in the 21st century and they're still like, no, you won't do that. You must study finance. You must study economy. You must study engineering. And they're still trying to stop their kids to do whatever they want. You wouldn't imagine it, but this is happening here. And, I mean, we need to let our children, our kids, to be free to explore their talents and to develop it.
That's crazy. Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, that's happening here.
Of course,
it happens a lot.
And to choose, you know, because they're not. If you're forcing your kid to 100%, if you're forcing your kid to do finance and your kid has no desire to do finance, they're not going to do a good job at that job because they don't like it. And that's crazy to me. You're setting them up for failure, not success, if you're forcing them to do something that you want them to do.
Totally.
It's funny because my dad used to always tell me, my dad used to always say, I want you to be an interior designer. I want you to be an interior designer. And I was a bit rebellious growing up. And I was like, I'm not going to be an interior designer just because you want me to be. And fast forward all of these years later, you know, I guess naturally it's in me and I had no idea. And now I'm thriving on it and I love it so much, you know, and I'm very particular with the way that I see things and how I like for spaces to be and to feel. But yeah, no, I think you got to let your kids kind of work it out for themselves, really.
Totally. Hey, Katie, and talking about the challenges, because you have said, you have said different times about challenges. What is the biggest challenges that you ever had with this business that you have or growing your business? I mean, you said you start thinking about, okay, if six buy this, it's okay, or it's 12, and it then came out globally. So, what is the biggest challenge that you had in this process?
I think I just took on a business partner recently, but before that, I was running the business on my own, and I have two people that work with me who are amazing. They've really just helped me so much over the years with ByJames, but it has been kind of managing all the roles of the business, you know, as one person and as a mother and you know, all the other things that you mentioned before, but being the creative in the face of the brand kind of, but then shifting and going into this business mode, which I'm not a business person really. I'm a creative, you know. Usually you have two people involved, one to do the front end and one to do the back end. So I've kind of always handled all of the roles and all of the categories, which I appreciate because now I understand all aspects of the brand and but that's been the most challenging, is doing really good at every single different role that I have to be in this business. And that's been challenging. We've had a couple setbacks in terms of like my social media was hacked at one point and completely erased for 7 years. You know, kind of have to regain all of those customers back. But yeah, I would say for the most part throughout my business, it's really just been managing every single role of the business and checking in. I don't do a good job at micromanaging. I kind of like to give people their role and their position and say, this is your category. Do your thing, you know, like yeah. I can't check in all the time because that's a full-time job to manage other people, you know? Mm-hmm. So totally. Fortunately, I have two really amazing people, women that work with me, that are great at their job and love, you know, ByJames. They've been with me for a long time. So yeah, but I would say for sure that's the biggest challenge. And then also, I think what a lot of people don't realize when you start a brand like what I'm doing, you constantly have to be creating. You have to be putting out content on social media. You have to be creating new collections, you know, in the right time frame of the year. and put out my first 10 styles and have to create anything new. But no, you got to keep creating new collections and new styles. So, then I go into a tunnel vision and sit there and I'm like, okay, what would I like to see for myself, as we evolve and different trends come out and things like that. But having to just flip your creative brain on in whatever moment you need to is also challenging sometimes, because sometimes you have a creative block and you're like, I can't think of anything right now, So yeah,
how do you do it?
Challenges, I think, but
when you have this creative block and you don't know,
how do I get out of it?
Yeah, how do you get out of it?
Literally just go into a top collection. What's the theme of the collection? I'll start playing around with different ideas. I'll go mood board going, and then I'll start just making samples, and make samples. And sometimes I don't like the way that they turn out, so I'll scratch a certain style or idea or design. But I really I make a ton of samples of things, and then I kind of sift through that way, and then I'll tweak certain things, or maybe I'll combine two styles together. Like I liked this part of this shoe and then this other part of another shoe and blend those together. So, but also like some designs that I really love happen to not be comfortable on the foot, So then that sucks, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful design. This is a shoe I want to be wearing every day, but they're not comfortable. They're not going to sell. So we have to scratch that. So then I try to find ways to like make them more comfortable. But they maybe don't look as good. So yeah, I mean, and sometimes when I have a creative block, I just allow myself to have a creative block. And I'm like, I'm not going to force anything I don't like, and I think that happens to everybody. I think that happens to every writer, creator, designer, across the board. Everyone kind of gets in those points, but eventually you just kind of come out of it and you're like, oh yeah, I have this great idea. I want to do this, But of course, Pinterest is the best way to really like get your mind moving,
I just love what you just said. Just let the block come.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm blocked. I'm okay. I will come out from this.
Yeah. But yes, it definitely does happen. I know like at a certain time frame that I'll have to create a new collection. Sometimes I block myself. I'm like, oh gosh, I have to do this. It's not coming naturally to me. I don't like that feeling. I don't like forcing myself to create something because of it when I have natural thoughts and ideas, and we'll get through it.
I love it. And I like this advice. Let's follow this advice about letting flow. Let the luck. Let's embrace the luck, and then we'll go out on this luck anyway. Katie, I'm just loving all what you said, and I would love you to recommend something to our listeners. I mean, the community, something that inspires you, some things that you have tried and you think, okay, you should read this. Sometimes we try something and we are like, oh God, I'm going to recommend this everybody because I just love this. What would you recommend?
Well, I mean, I think I would recommend more so than anything is just building a lifestyle that you can like make money off of, actually, is like, and pick a beautiful destination that you want to live and be and thrive, and figure out a creative way to make that work and make a business out of it. But one of my main inspirations, pulling from other sources, would be this brand called Koki. In my opinion, they were one of the first brands here that was just so unique and special and beautiful. And I became friends with them, collaborating with. And so I was kind of like see and just like absorb the beauty of this family and how they live life. And they're my biggest inspiration really of a brand. Everything that they touch is just stunning, beautiful, not too contrived. And yeah, I think, blending all aspects of your life, your kids, your work, your home, the food that you prepare for your kids, or your family. I think if you can blend all of those things together, to me, that's success. Success is not monetary. It is living a beautiful and happy life to the best of your ability, and kind of what I'm trying to do as much as I can.
I love it. And I know this brand, and it's amazing. I mean, Koki, it's amazing. I mean, everything, I'll just say, everything that they taught, I mean, the spaces, every product is amazing. And yes, it's very inspiring. It's as inspiring as you are, because you are also so inspiring on what you share and what you do on your style. And I'm very grateful that you came today with us to talk. And I would love to tell the community, how can they reach you? I mean, your webpage, your Instagrams, how can they connect with you?
Of course. Our Instagram is at ByJames.designs. It's ByJames and then designs. And then my website is byjamesdesigns.com. Those would be the best ways for my work, at least. On a personal level, you can find me at Katie_James. And I'd love to chat with anybody who wants to chat design or anything creative. I love it.
Thanks so much, Katie. Follow Katie.
So hopefully I will hear from some of you guys.
Yeah, follow Katie. You will love her. I'm not talking about the style. I'm talking about her person. So you must follow her and find what she's doing, because it's amazing what she's doing here in Mexico. I mean, sometimes we Mexicans think that we can do it, or we don't have the resources, but Mexico is a rich country. And Katie,
there's so many resources here. Yes, you guys have to tap into it. There's so many amazing resources. But thank you so much for having me on today. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed talking to you, and hopefully we can chat again.
Of course. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Muchas gracias por su tiempo y por habernos escuchado. Nos pueden seguir en nuestras redes sociales, en Spotify, en Instagram, en YouTube, en Apple Podcasts. Y si les gustó este episodio, porfa, compartan y suman al gremio. Nos encanta colaborar y sumar.